Hello everybody. Today we're continuing on from the last video of our Android app that we made, which if you've run the demo, you'll notice that as you click around, it is essentially just a website inside an app. And even though you have a native tab bar, it doesn't feel very native. And one of the things we want to do is give our users a better experience. So in this video, we're going to just talk about modals, using modals to just give a slightly different experience when a user clicks on a new route or on the edit route, which you can find here. So let's actually just dive in. Now, when we are adding a new rule to a Turbo Android app, the first thing we want to do is actually click and go into our configuration.json. Now you can have this file on the server or in the app. In this case, we have it in the app itself. And we want to just start by adding a pattern. And the pattern takes array, and we're going to have /new. And /edit. And then we just add some properties. And the properties is an object. Context the modal. Then we have a URI identifier. And this is the URI that will be annotated on our class. And then finally, we want to disable pull to refresh on this screen. And I think that's everything on this here. And so we can actually close this file. And next we move on to creating our class. So a new Kotlin file, which we're going to call web bottom sheet fragment. And the first thing we want to do is we just want to annotate our class with the URI that we just created in here in the path in the configuration file. Okay, and then the next thing, we have our class, and to activate everything, we can actually just simply inherit from the Turbo bottom sheet. And if there's any methods we need to override, we can do. And just by simply holding command and click, you can look at the library, and you can see here that it's going to inflate a view called Turbo Fragment Web Bottom Sheet. Okay. And normally, so after you've created your fragment, you just need to do one more thing under normal circumstances, and that is to actually add this to our class, to our list of, so I'm just going to, so this is adding it to our list of registered fragments. Okay, so let's run the app and see what happens. Now bear in mind, when we started this project in the last episode, we actually started with a single screen activity, not an empty activity, and we're going to run into some trouble. And I just want to go through how I go about debugging these things. So you can see it crashes as soon as we click on the new route, but every other route works. But if you click on a new route or an edit route, you can see it crashes. And the first thing we usually do when something crashes is we look at our stack trace. So we go to our stack trace, scroll up a tiny bit, and you can see there's an exception. Binary XML line 7 at Turbo Progress bottom sheet, and it has an issue inflating the class. Okay, now it can be quite a strange error to read. It can mean many different things, and one of the things we do is we just pull up the bottom sheet. So we've got Turbo Progress bottom sheet, and it's looking for this color surface. Okay, now we actually don't have a color surface defined in our app. Okay, so let's just look at that. So it's basically looking for the color surface in our theme, and we don't have it defined at all. So one of the things we want to do is, first of all, we're not actually inheriting from the correct theme at all. We just want to inherit from the old Android Views theme, and then we have our, and then we just create our item name, color surface, and we're just going to make it a color black. And if you're wondering how I kind of arrived at this conclusion, simply by just reading the source code. So just by looking at the source code in either the Turbo app or the Turbo demo, and you can get quite far by just looking at the source code. Now, we're not quite done yet, because if you remember in our last episode, we actually had told our activity to actually go use a different theme. So we just simply make sure it's running CRM Android, and with some luck we might be able to see, and when we click, you can see we get the CRM Android come up as a modal. And so very quickly we can see we have it has update context, so it's just rendered the form on a modal, and we can just update the contact. It will refresh the screen. You got Daniel G instead of, and you can see there a slightly better experience when a user goes to edit the form. Now this app just doesn't happen to look great because it's got very basic styling for demo purposes, but you can see how easily you can create a new experience on Turbo Android without having to configure a lot of stuff. So when your basic app is configured, you simply just add your route that you want to create a new fragment for, and when the user goes onto that URL or hits that URL, it will look for the class that's annotated with this, and we then look at that class. That class is annotated here, and it's just inherited from the Turbo Web Bottom Sheet fragment. And then in our main session nav host, we just added it to the list of registered fragments. And you can use this same concept to render as many different screens you want. So for example, if we want to render a native screen for a certain route, we can do that. And that is actually what we will do in the next episode. And just because we started with a Kotlin Jetpack Compose app, a lot of the old Android views weren't included, and so we just have to add them in our case. And in our case, it was only one value I was looking for. But if it happens to you when you're adding maybe a different fragment, or inheriting a different fragment, such as any of these web modal ones, you can just simply, if we look at the different fragments, maybe you're inheriting a different one, and you're going into the same errors. Just go through and see what values you're missing. Okay, and with that, look forward to seeing you in the next episode. If you like the video, feel free to subscribe or like the video. But if you want to really stay updated, you should just go onto my website and just you can sign up for email there, and any new blog posts or videos I do send to on the email list. So thanks very much for watching, and any more questions, just feel free to let me know. Thank you.